Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Michael Boothby Show. This is episode 2, featuring a very special guest, my father, Dr. Rusty Boothby.
Hey, thanks, Mike.
Hey, how you doing,
Good
Dad?
to be here.
Now, normally I start by asking my guest how the day's been, but my dad is here doing some top secret medical training at the University of Chicago, so we can't go into any specifics about that, but if you're curious and want to know more, stay tuned to the medical journals over the next 6 months. I'm sure you'll learn all about that. So, we won't go into that. I think you had a good day. You learned a lot.
I had a nice day. I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, so I guess let's start with very simple, maybe tell our audience and me, what it is that you do.
Well, I'm a physician, and I'm a subspecialist in gynecologic oncology. I've been doing that for about 33 years now. My interest in medicine started very young when I was in high school.
High school. So we've talked about this a few times. I know a lot of people want to be doctors, but did you know back in high school that you wanted to be a gynecologic oncologist?
No. I knew that I wanted to be a doctor from probably about junior year of high school. And so at that point, I set my sights on what I needed to do, which was go through college and make good grades and then get accepted into medical school.
Right.
That itself was a long and stressful process.
I can imagine.
But once I got in, and then I went to medical school, and at that point got married after a couple of years of medical school, and then had a baby very quickly.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that because you were 21, right?
I was 23 when our oldest daughter was born.
And if you guys know me, I'm 27, and I don't have any kids, and I'm not in medical school. So, wow, yeah. Let's go into that because obviously this was the 70s, right?
I was medical school was in the late 70s, early 80s.
Late 70s, early 80s. So the same time that Queen was really rocking.
Yes.
Night at the Opera. They're doing that, and my dad's in medical school with a baby. I want to hear about that because that's got to be so different than my life right now.
Well, it was a lot different. Being married at a young age, and that was not uncommon at that point. A lot of our friends were married. Your mom, my wife Rose.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done all of this without her because she, as I was going through training, she was finishing up her training in business, and we had a baby to take care of as well, and she did a lot of that heavy mothering things.
Yeah.
When I was committed to being in the hospital for 36 hours at a time.
36 hours at a time.
Yeah.
That's, I think, and you've talked to me about this a few times, but then they had like cots that you guys would stay in the hospital.
Well, you had a bed, but you didn't get to it very often, depending on how busy a night it was. That
seems so dangerous. Like they don't do this anymore, do they?
No, they've changed all the rules, and so when you go through training now, you're really not allowed to be on call or taking care of patients for more than 24 hours straight.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because I just can't believe that. Like there were doctors who were doing surgery and they haven't slept.
Yeah.
That's
a lot.
Wow. And it's so cool that doesn't happen anymore. Deborah says hi, cool dad. Deborah's one of my friends from TO out in Colorado. Yeah, guys, if you're watching, feel free to comment. Feel free to like if you're on the Facebook. Like it, love it. As you're watching, if you have any reactions, just press those buttons because it's gonna help boost the live video. Yeah, cool. So we got into a little bit. Let's just go back a little. Why medicine? What was it about medicine that you were like, I have to become a doctor?
It was a combination of things. My really wanting to help people, and for me, I wasn't able to do a lot of different things, and that just seemed a natural thing for me to do.
Yeah.
My father was a physician. He was a pediatrician.
Okay. So you grew up in a...
So I grew up with exposure to it.
Okay.
But, in his generation, you know, my father didn't spend a lot of time with us. He was
Really?
always working, and when he wasn't working, he was doing other things. And we used to fish a lot when I was very, very young. But as I got older, we drifted apart, and I didn't get to, you know, especially when I went to college and things, you didn't spend a lot of time together. So I wanted to do that, but I also wanted to be able to be around where my kids were younger and be available for them. So I kind of had to pick things and I tried to do things that would help me accomplish that as I got older.
And would you say you succeeded?
I hope so. I have 4 successful children.
You do.
And, it's just great to see everything that they're all doing. You know, it was fun when the kids were little, but my children are all adults now, and it's fun to watch them now because they're all successful in their own ways. They're all doing different things, and it kind of keeps our lives interesting.
Oh, Veronica says you look just like your dad. I don't have quite the facial hair. I've always been quite jealous of your facial hair. I think let's talk about when did you start being able to grow a beard? And because I feel like when you always told a story when I was younger that there was one time when Susie was a child. Susie's my oldest sister, and you shaved your face. And you came home and she saw you and she screamed because she thought someone had broken into her house.
Yeah, that's true.
So when did the beard emerge?
I grew my beard in college and had it all through college and through medical school. And then we had Susie during medical school. She was about 2 and a half years old when I graduated from medical school. And I felt I needed to shave it when I graduated. So I shaved it all off and Rose didn't like it, and Susie didn't like it.
Everyone,
so I started growing it back immediately. Now, back then, it was red.
Oh yeah, I wish I had some older pictures of my dad. He used to have big red hair and a big red beard.
Yeah.
And is that where the nickname Rusty came about?
Yeah,
because
my mother nicknamed me that because I was born with a bright red hair when I was born. So
wow, yeah.
That's how my nickname came about.
Yeah, so my dad's name is Richard, but he'll always say, call me Rusty, you know, and I love that. You have a nickname that's kind of been around. A question I have, and this is a question because when I was younger, you know, obviously we moved around a lot. I went to a lot of different schools. And obviously I think Lauren and Kristen can attest to this, but whenever we would go to schools, people would just call us Boothby. Did you ever have that in your life?
I did. People used to do the same thing to me. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just one of those names because I don't know any other Boothbys. So people are like, for a while I was like, I should just get rid of my first name and just call myself Boothby because so many people were using my last name as a first name. Oh, Deborah says beard scared me as a child. Now I'm over it. That's wonderful. Yeah, I'm the same though, because I feel like as soon as I started to be able to grow a beard, I didn't look back. And anytime the last time level 2 of TOSPA at the end, they made us all shave our faces, and I think that was the first time in a while that I shaved my face, and I didn't completely hate what I saw in the mirror. I was like, okay, I can kind of see, I can work with this, but I never go for the full beard. Mine doesn't grow in as thick as yours does. And and now obviously it's just a little grayer now. You have the wisdom. You have the wisdom beard. Where mine, it just looks scraggly.
Yeah, well, mine is full all the way, but I've shaved it off on the sides. I just have the goatee now. Because if I have a full beard, I look like Santa Claus. And,
now you're like Dr. Colonel Sanders. You have that nice Southern charm about you. You know, you have that look of a man who can make a mean Manhattan, and I know he can.
You're right. I do.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's talk about that. 'Cause my dad loves making drinks. You've gotten into the mixology as you've gotten older, and the coffee. As we were talking about that, my mother for Christmas got us an espresso machine, and we just spent all day today making cappuccinos and just learning how to use it. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe how did you kind of get into mixology or drinks? I think you've always been fascinated.
Well, I've always been a frustrated bartender.
A frustrated bartender.
You know, that would be my goal as another career would be to be able to tend bars so I could sit and just talk to people.
Yeah.
Because I do the same thing with my patients. I
mix drinks.
No, I don't mix drinks.
I'm just kidding.
And I don't drink when I'm working.
That's great.
But I just like to sit down and talk with people because they're all so interesting. And then a bartender gets to talk to a lot of different people.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure the drinks are flowing. People start really sharing some stories, and I'm sure you hear a lot of interesting stories from people.
I do. Yeah.
Because that's you're in this interesting position where you're having a very vulnerable conversation with people. Where this might be sometimes even life or death.
That's true. That's true.
And you're kind of learning about them and their habits and doing your best to help them.
That's right. That's right. What I've tried to do, I found that as you talk to people, and you're talking about very sensitive subjects. You're talking about life and death with some people. But the more you get to know somebody, then you can kind of figure out what makes them tick, and also maybe what made them sick. So you can figure out maybe how to help them if you know more about them. And so I don't waste, but I spend more time than most doctors do talking to people.
I think that's great. Yeah.
I had one patient who was so surprised. She says, you're the first doctor that's ever looked me in the eye. And I go, I don't understand how you cannot. Because people's eyes give you so much detail. And their expression and what you see in their eyes tells you so much about them, and they don't have to say anything. And you can tell if somebody's really, really suffering, or you can tell if somebody's amused. But it's just a lot of doctors, as they go through training, they don't learn how to communicate.
I know we've talked about that a few times, kind of, the direction I'm going with my life about, improv coaching, creativity coaching, that's an area I would love to go to hospitals and just, train doctors and just how to have these conversations and look people in the eye. I love what you said, finding out what makes them tick, because then you can find out what made them sick. Have you ever had your own show? That's a great line. Dr. Boothby finds out what makes them tick to find out what made them sick. That's a great line. But no, I love that. And, I obviously kind of the last year for me has been a bit of a mental health journey. I've kind of gone and seen doctors. And the one doctor I did see, I was the same. I didn't feel like I got that personal care. I kind of felt like I was just another person in his schedule.
Right.
And it's like, and obviously as a doctor, you're going to see a lot of patients, but I think it's important that you look people in the eyes. These small things to make people feel listened to and heard, and that you actually care. So it's nice to know that's an important part of your practice, what you kind of bring.
And I've been doing this for 30 plus years, and the things that I take for granted or I don't think are very important, I've had patients come back and said, we didn't do much that day, but just the way you talked to me made me feel better. And it's like some people have just lost the art of medicine, and doctors you take an oath to try to do better and make people well, and there's some people who you can, and some people you're not going to be able to make well, but you can make them feel better.
I mean, and sometimes, maybe that's all you can do sometimes.
Well,
just in that moment, make people feel better. I know that's something I try to do whenever I'm performing, whenever I'm on stage. I'm thinking, how can I just make someone in this audience, it's like brighten their day or make them think about something in a different way. And, obviously it's just the theater, but, maybe they come to that show and they leave and they think about that. And maybe that ends up inspiring them or motivating them to make some, whether small or significant, change in their life.
Of course. And, when you're walking down the street, just a smile to somebody, you never know what effect that's going to have on somebody. Somebody could be having a really bad day, and you just smiled at them. You didn't say hello, you didn't say anything, but you just smiled at them and you acknowledge that they were there. And that makes a huge difference to people.
It's true. It's so true. I don't know if I shared this. I think I've shared this story with you, but I'll share it again now. When I was living abroad in New Zealand, so that was about 2015 to 2016, and I was living in Wellington at the time, and I really fell into this when I started learning stand-up comedy, in improvisational theater. And I remember one day I produced this show. It was called I Can't Believe It's Not Scripted, an improvised musical. And just to promote the musical, I went to the street. It was called Cuba Street, and there was a lot of buskers on the street. And so I kind of just set up with my guitar and a sign that said, I'll improvise a song for you for $5. And I remember there was this guy walking down the street, and he looked kind of down. I said, hey, can I improvise a song for you? And he looked at my sign and was like, sure, but I'm not going to give you any money. I said, totally fine. And I asked him his name, and I ended up making up and playing the song for him. And and his eyes just lit up. And I remember at the very end of it, he said, "Hold on, wait right here." And I stayed there. And he walked over to an ATM, withdrew $20, and said, "I want you to have this because you made my day." And he was like in tears.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that was like when I was like, wow, this improv stuff is really powerful, and not just improv for the sake of improv, but really taking the time to listen to someone and to personalize this experience for them. And it's so magical. I mean, it's why I moved to Chicago. It's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it's so true. You know, exactly. It doesn't take much to make someone's day. And I think that's something we can all do. You know, like, how can you challenge yourself to just smile at one person? Or if someone's wearing something, let's say, "Hey, I really love that. It looks really great on you." You know, exactly, because that stuff, we don't hear it enough. I don't think we tell each other that we love each other enough, and I think we should.
I agree. You know, I think, you know, we should spend and make an effort every day to be kind to somebody. We've lost the act of kindness.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel better. I have a nice day.
Yeah.
You know, and if I know I've touched a patient or I've touched somebody and made their day just a little bit better, it makes you feel better.
You know, I think at the end of Abbey Road, right? When Paul McCartney says, "And in the end, the love you make is equal to the love you take," you know? And who knows what Paul was talking about? But, you know, I think we can extrapolate that to, you know, exactly. Just give as much as you receive, because that's one thing I'm learning about life is the more that you give, the more it comes back to you. And I think, especially in our society now, that's not a lesson that I think a lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people think, you know, I need to take and I need to get what I have and just hold on to it. But I think when you do that, you're not giving, and then you're limiting the opportunities that will present themselves to you.
Because you can't see them.
Because you can't see them. Yeah.
You're so busy with, you know, consuming that you just don't take the time to realize what other people have to offer.
Yeah. I love Abel's been commenting. Abel's another good friend from TOSP out in Colorado. He was my buddy from level 1, natural leader. He's doing some really cool things. Really excited to get back up with him in a few days. He said bunch of handsome looking fellas. And, you know, he did all the work. It wasn't me. He said, yeah, 100%.
Well, your mom had a lot to do with it.
I think she did. And you know, let's talk about her. 'Cause I think I get a lot from her, you know. And if you don't know my mother could strike up a conversation with anyone, anywhere, airport, you name it. Like, she'll just start talking to people, and they don't always want to talk back, but she just will keep going.
She keeps going, and she's another person who sees the good in other people.
Yeah, you know, and I think she's also kind of very attuned to, like, the energy of people too. I think sometimes she might not always listen as much as I would like, but she's also always listening more than you think she is.
That's true.
I think she doesn't always show it, but she's always listening, and, like, because even if you think she'll just come out with this, like, really witty thing, and you're like, oh, how did you? That was like 10 minutes ago that we were talking about that. But yeah, very, very. I think my dad's obviously a wonderful listener, which you have to be a good physician.
I agree.
You know, my mother spends a lot of times in front of the spreadsheets. You know, she's an accountant, so she loves the numbers. She's very detail oriented. But yeah, let's talk about her. Like, how did you guys meet? And that was back in Loyola.
We met in college at Loyola University in New Orleans, and actually, our first date was a blind date.
Really?
Our two of our mutual friends got us to do a toga party.
A toga party? Wow.
And that's how we met.
Wow, my parents met at a toga party in college. That's cool.
There's a lot of things that we did in college that you won't know about.
Good. I don't want to know, but still, that's wonderful. And I think he tuned into the broadcast recently, but it was Frank Suniglia.
Oh, yeah.
Who was your best bud in college.
My best friend, and still one of my best friends.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, when you have a friend like Frank, you may go years not talking to each other, but you can strike up a conversation, and, you know, you have to have a couple friends like that in your lifetime.
Oh yeah, I love that. I have a few of those. Obviously, you know, Joey.
Yeah.
Mike. Obviously, Mike Thomas. I'm always,
Well, they'll be friends with you for life.
Oh yeah. And there's something about that. Obviously we live in this time of technology and everyone's trying to get followers and grow their brand. I mean, even right now I'm doing this show in an attempt to grow a thing, but at the same time it's like, I think for me I've always been about the close friends. I've never been I was never the most popular guy in school. People kind of knew me. People always thought I was a little weird, which I was. I still am a little weird, but I'm embracing it now. But I've always enjoyed having the company of really great friends, confidants. I could share anything with, any ideas. They wouldn't judge me. Oh, Mom just joined the podcast. Hey, Mom. Hey, Rose. We were just talking about you, and Dad was saying you guys met at a Toga party. We didn't get into any of the details, so you're safe. But yeah, so you guys met in college, and then what year were you in? Were you guys?
Well,
she's a little younger than you,
I'm
right?
2 years older than your mom, and she was a freshman. I was a junior when we met.
She was a freshman. Wow, Dad. Wow. Okay. Wow, and that's so funny though, because then you guys ended up getting married, and then we went to medical school, and then she's just kind of swept along on this journey. Yeah. That became your lives.
Exactly, and over the time we had 4 of you guys, and
weren't expecting. I'm also I have a twin sister, which they were not expecting.
No, we were just trying for number 3, and we got 3 and 4 at the same time.
I heard rumors that there was a triplet. Is that a true?
No,
that was a rumor. Okay, the drama abounds when you have four siblings. There's always these stories. So confirmed there was no triplet, or was there? Up next on Ancient Aliens. No. Cool. So I think throughout your career you've lived in a lot of places too.
Well, we have north, south, and a lot of places in Florida.
Yeah. I think, what was your favorite place that you've lived and why?
We're a couple different places. I enjoyed our time in Philadelphia.
I've only been to the airport. I've never spent much time there.
The city's nice. It's a big city, but it's easy to get around in. Lots of good restaurants and good places to eat. We only lived there for 2 years, but it was a good place to be. And we kind of like the weather in Florida now, having come from 86 degrees yesterday to 10 degrees here.
Yeah, a bit shocking.
It was a little shocking.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't have to go outside too much today.
No, we don't. We don't go outside in the winter here in Chicago. We stay inside. Also, my friend Mia is watching on Instagram, and she said, "What's Toga?" Mia, would you like to explain what a toga party is to my friend Mia?
Well, a toga party was essentially where you dress up in sheets to look like Greek goddesses.
Ancient Greeks.
And ancient Greeks, and you end up drinking a lot.
Yeah, right. Definitely, if you don't know what a toga party is, Mia, look up the movie Animal House. John Belushi. That's kind of like the quintessential college party movie. Even to this day, I think it's still a classic.
Still is a classic.
Speaking of classics, I know you love movies, you love entertainment. We in our family we bond a lot over movies. We love going to the movies and eating great food. So maybe what are some of your favorite movies? And I know a few of them. What's coming to my mind is Young Frankenstein.
Oh. Yeah.
Maybe just to entertain the audience, you could describe the first time you saw Young Frankenstein.
First I was in college when I saw Young Frankenstein, and went there and really was probably one of the first times I fell out of my seat laughing. It was just that funny to me at that point in my life. My
dad literally raffled. He literally was rolling on the floor laughing from Mel Brooks's.
Yeah, the scene with the blind man and the suit.
It
was just classic.
Gosh, I still watch that movie every now and then. But ever since you told me that story, I think I kind of had this deeper reverence for it, because it's such a brilliant movie. I mean, Gene Wilder is so amazing, and there's so much physical comedy and innuendo, and it all just he blends it all so well. Mm-hmm. Do you think in another life you wrote comedies?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? I enjoy it a lot.
You definitely do. I definitely think I get a lot of my taste in my comedy from you, and all the art that you appreciate. And let's talk about that, because I know you did say, I think, was it in high school you had a band?
I did.
It was called the
Brass Buckle.
The Brass Buckle.
I was actually it was the end of grade school and the first part of college.
End of grade school.
Yeah,
so you were a young
like 7th and 8th grade. And,
wow, middle school. Okay.
Middle school.
Wow, and high school, and you were in a band.
Yeah.
Were you really cool? Did you have like multiple girlfriends?
No, I was a nerd.
Yeah, I know that. I was never cool. Even when I was in middle school, that's when I started learning guitar, and I was like, I want to get chicks. I'm going to learn guitar. It never got me a single girlfriend.
Didn't work. Yeah, and matter of fact, I still keep in touch with our drummer. He and I are friends on Facebook. And
oh yeah,
yeah, Harry Bowen. He's
wow.
a great guy. Yeah.
Okay. That's so funny, and you grew up in Jacksonville.
In Jacksonville,
yeah. Maybe let's
yeah.
talk. So obviously, I grew up in Florida as well. I grew up in Orlando and Fort Myers. I lived all around the state. But my dad grew up. You grew up like right on the river, didn't you?
We did. We were not far from
the
St. John's River. And
maybe talk about that. How was it like growing up in Jacksonville, Florida? And this was the 50s and 60s.
Right? Yeah, it was in the early 60s.
During the Cuban Missile Crisis, you were a wee lad.
Oh, we were. I was in like 2nd and 3rd grade for that.
Wow. And that's, I studied a lot of U.S. foreign policy in the 20th century. So I got to view your childhood as a student of history. But I imagine it was much different living through it, especially being a child. There's so much, Cold War politics and a lot of fear. That must have been kind of scary.
We had air raid drills in grade school. They used to make us sit underneath our desks, and as an adult now, I've looked back and said, well, gosh, if they bomb us, sitting under my desk isn't going to help very much.
Do anything.
It's just going to keep us all in one place.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember there was, what was it, The Iron Giant, I think, which was a cartoon about like a Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the beginning of the film, he's like watching this thing in elementary school, and it's like, if there's a nuclear bomb, go under your desk, and like the bomb drops, and like everything's gone except the boy in his desk.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, it's like people probably, but I guess you had to give people something to do,
True.
Yeah, what was it like? When you were, what did you love doing when you were a child? I know you did a lot of water skiing.
Childhood was so different because my mother wouldn't think anything of letting us. We got home from school, we finished what we needed to do as far as homework, and then we'd go out and play. And then she didn't expect us back till dinner time. So
wow,
all our friends in the neighborhood, we'd go down, take our bikes out, and just stroll around. We didn't worry about anything. My mother didn't worry about anything. I would never think of doing that with my children these days.
No, I mean it's what a different time. Yeah, I mean there's so much more. There's so much fear now. People worried about the kids being abducted, but also now, like with the internet. I mean, I know there's kids now. They come home and they hang out online, or they play these games, or even I know growing up in the 90s and 2000s, like I played a lot of video games. Yeah. But even then, it's like at least I was like going over to my friends' houses and we'd both be playing together. But yeah, definitely, I think there was a more trusting time back then. There was more community.
Yeah, well, and again, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have all the things we have now. So in order to make friends, you had to actually go out and meet them.
What a concept. And now you have to make a show on Facebook Live. No, yeah, it's so interesting now, because obviously it's a subject that I'm obviously very passionate about, that I'm publishing my book about, which is and my book is called Message with Purpose. Swipe Dating Simplified, and it's all about because we have this technology now, and I think this technology is it provides a very easy and direct way to meet people, but the challenge that I'm trying to answer is how can we use this technology and not lose our face-to-face interaction, right, and our authenticity, which I think is almost the first thing to go with social media and these dating profiles. And instead of being authentic, we're kind of projecting this image of who maybe we want to be or who we think other people will like. And that's kind of what my work and my dating coaching is all about, is how can we be authentic? How can we express who we are in a way that we're meeting the people who we want to hang out with,
right?
Know?
Well, that it's so easy now with all the media that we have and the electronics and all the things we have available to us, you can make up stuff and nobody can call you out on it.
Right.
Until they meet you. And then they realize, well, this isn't the person I was talking to.
Yeah, I actually experienced that a few times, like in college even. And I know I've talked to a lot of people in researching my book who it was the same thing. And it's, exactly. I think, there's a lot of doors being opened for perhaps, manipulation of your image or of people. And it's like, I just think we all have to strive to do better, just to be authentic and to come from this place of love. And it's, there's a million reasons why we can turn to hate or comparing ourselves to others, and it's like we just need more people to just step up and to choose to do the right thing. Which is, that's my challenge, is I can write a book and I can coach and I can teach these classes, but ultimately it's not, like same with you, you can do your work to take cancer out of people and to heal them, but ultimately you can't change someone's lifestyle.
They have to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe let's talk about this, because I said we wanted to talk about this, and perhaps maybe let's talk about how healthcare has evolved since you started in the late 70s, early 80s, into where it is now, and kind of what have been the trends, what's shifted, and where do you kind of operate from now, and what do you kind of
I've seen a lot of change in the development of our electronics, the development of new technologies. For me as a surgeon, I've gone from procedures where you have to open the patient completely to get to do the surgery, to doing minimally invasive surgery now with laparoscopy, and now I even do robotic surgery, which makes me able to do very, very difficult and complex operations with very small incisions. And so the same operation where a patient would have to stay in the hospital 7-10 days when I was younger, now they stay in the hospital overnight and go home and recover much more quickly and do very, very well. So it's been a major shift in how I look at things.
Yeah, and it's so cool. I remember when I was in college and I was still considering, when I was still pre-med, I actually once went to work with my dad and got to see him do one of these robotic surgeries. It was so wild because, you make these small incisions and there's this big machine with these arms, and then my dad's just sitting at this panel, with these little controls. And I almost think, back when my parents both thought when I still wanted to be a doctor, I thought it was kind of cool, because it's like you're playing this video game, and yet over here it's like you're doing this very laser specific surgery on this person, and it's like you can see more. Now it's like you're like an octopus. You have 8 arms now, so you're even less limited than perhaps you were with the older form of surgery.
Yeah, no, the technology allows you to see better, because you can zoom in and out with the camera. It's 3-dimensional.
Wow.
You can be very, very close to things if you need to be. So it makes very difficult surgeries a lot easier, and again, less trauma to the patient. And so patients do better.
That's amazing. Perhaps let's just let's keep, because obviously the technology has advanced so much since the 70s and the 80s, but I think also there's been a lot of paradigm shifts just in the field of medicine as a whole, and I think you're starting to see now more of approach towards more holistic approaches, but also more kind of preventative medicine. And I know my dad wrote a book called The After Cancer Diet with my oldest sister, Suzanne Boothby. And I know you have a lot of thoughts about nutrition, but also holistic health.
Well, yeah, all that got started. Again, it pays to listen to people, and even listening to your children sometimes helps.
Yeah, right.
When I was younger and Susie was still around, and we talked about things, and as she got interested in writing, she got interested in healthcare. We talked about more holistic things, and she got me more interested in taking a nutritional approach to patients' care, and so I learned a lot in medical school, how to operate, how to give chemotherapy, and how to do all the medical things, but they didn't teach us when I was in medical much about nutrition. We had maybe an hour or 2 course.
Wow. Out of your whole
all the
years.
Thousands and thousands of hours that I spent.
That's
And
wild.
now that's not true anymore. I've been to courses now where they're actually being taught in medical school, and a lot of the medical schools now have inspired their hospitals to change the way they feed patients, to give them a more nutritious diet. We're looking at lots of different things because patients who have to have surgery, they have to be well nourished, and if you're giving them fried foods and junk before surgery, they're just not going to do as well. It's not good.
Especially, we're learning that a lot of that junk food now is causing inflammation around your organs. So that I can't imagine that made the surgery any easier.
And again, you know, the American diet is responsible for a lot of the chronic illnesses that we see.
That people now come to see doctors for, including diabetes,
obesity, heart disease.
All
those things. A lot of those are preventable illnesses that if you paid attention to what you put in your body, you wouldn't be developing those things. And you know, I've done lectures on nutrition and cancer as it relates to cancer, and there's a graph I put up that shows the incidence of cancer going up in a straight line, and the percentage of our foods that come from farms goes down.
Wow.
So as the amount of processed foods that we eat as a country goes up, cancer goes
all
up,
those
but all those diseases go up.
Wow.
So it's something that I learned myself, and I actually went to a course to learn about nutrition, and gave me the tools and the knowledge to be able to not only do the surgery and do all the medical things I knew, but also to teach patients how to change their diet so that they can actually feel better and do something for themselves to, again, if they've had cancer, to try to keep their cancer from coming back, to help their immune systems work better, to help them feel better, and again, decrease their chances of getting something else that's going to cause them problems as they get older.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And I know I think I've sent you a few articles, but I know I sent you an article about there was a woman, maybe in Florida, maybe somewhere else, who was a medical doctor, and she quit being a doctor and actually started a CrossFit gym.
Yes.
Because she found that she was influencing and better affecting people's health by teaching CrossFit than from, you know, her position in her practice or at this hospital.
Right.
And then I know in my last year when I was struggling with depression, I went online and there was I forget her name, but there was another medical doctor who she started a blog, and her whole blog, and she has courses and coaching, but it was all about how to heal your depression just through your nutrition.
Right.
And through your thoughts, which and I think that's another thing that's kind of slowly we're getting more research about, which is the whole mind-body connection, and how even just the thoughts that we the things that we tell ourselves every day can either help us live a very long-lasting and healthful life, or can cause a lot of illnesses, probably even including cancer.
I agree completely. I think that, you know, as I've gotten older and I've watched people around me, stress is a huge issue for people.
Yeah.
You know, there's family stress, there's work stress, and people aren't taught how to handle that. You don't know. There's a lot to be said for meditation. There's a lot to be said for mindfulness. Most of my patients that I see, that I get a chance to know and talk to, I can pinpoint a very stressful point in their lives, whether it be a death of a loved one, a divorce, having to move a lot of times, just some life events that made them stressed, that they worried about a lot. That 6 months later they were diagnosed with cancer.
Wow.
Or a year later. So it's a factor. You know, cancer is, all of us at one point in our lives have cells in our bodies that become cancerous, and most of the time our body's immune system learns to recognize that and kills those cells, and we never know we had them.
Wow.
But if your immune system isn't working well, because you're stressed, or because you're not eating well, or because of any other number of factors, including environmental factors, and we're all breathing things, and we're near a factory that's producing toxic chemicals. We don't have control over that, but you know, we do have control over the food we eat. We do have control over stress. We do have control over mindfulness.
Yeah.
All those things that we can do. And if we learn those as young people, you can change how your life is going to go.
Yeah. And I think you're definitely, I know a lot of people here in Chicago. Vanessa Palmer comes to mind. She has an event called Curating Mindfulness that she does every 8 weeks, and she gets a lot of people from the mindful community, and she creates these amazing events just to spread more awareness about it. But she also does a lot of work. You're starting to see a lot of schools, even public schools, adapting, and instead of a detention room, they're doing a meditation room.
Right.
So it's like if you act up and I love that, because instead of just like go sit in a room, it's like, well, go sit in a room with yourself and think about, not even think, just feel, and what it would feel like to be on the other end of what you just did. And,
right. Or what you just said to somebody.
Yeah. And it's like, would you really, like, and why are you doing that? Did someone say that to you? And of course it's always, that kind of hate is always, it's always cyclical. It's always this trauma that's been passed down.
Right.
And yeah, I hope that's something that we see more mindfulness in our schools and our children. I think it's something as parents, I know if I ever had kids, I'd be teaching my children meditation from an early age, because it's such a great coping skill for anything in life.
That's true.
Anything, any stress or trauma you may have, you can breathe. And I think when we get stressed out, the first thing to go is our breath. And now you get up here, and I know for me, a lot of my manic periods, I stopped breathing, and then it's just from there, everything else just goes.
Your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up,
and
all sorts of bad things start happening in your body that you could control if you learned how to
control your breath and to control your thoughts. That's so amazing to hear you say that. I don't know are you familiar with Dr. Gabor Mate?
No.
He's a physician from, I think, Vancouver, but he does his practice. I got an email. I'm on his email list, but he does a lot with trauma and kind of helping people deal with it, because he's found that a lot of illnesses, just like you said, stem from this one point in someone's life where there's a very traumatic experience that now is either stored in their body, or it's or it's in their mind, and it kind of ends up controlling you in a way that you're not even aware of it. Even our training in Colorado, we did a lot of practices to kind of find these moments and to release them. But he does a lot of work with plant medicine and ayahuasca, and using those as ways to kind of identify this trauma and to help release it.
Right.
And it's really cool to kind of see a lot of these Western physicians and scientists and researchers kind of looking to these ancient practices that have been around for thousands of years, and finding ways to integrate them into this Western scientific model of health.
I agree. And Eastern medicine or Chinese medicine, people have been practicing Eastern type philosophies for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
And they work.
Yeah.
And when I talk to patients about alternative or complementary treatments, I said, well, we still need to do the surgery, because that I know helps, and in some cases we need to do chemotherapy, but also these are other things you can add that should help. Your acupuncture helps with pain, it helps with chemotherapy, nausea. Yoga helps with mindfulness, it helps with decreasing stress. There's lots of
stretching, muscles,
all those things, and they can be adapted for people who may not be physically able to do what you and I could do.
Right.
So it's just ways of looking at things a slightly different manner to help the overall patient, instead of just fixing their arm that's broken. Looking at just addressing the symptoms,
Correct. Which also, Abel, I saw you have a question. If you want, just write that question in the comments, and when we find a point, I'll address it, and I can have my dad answer your question. Also, if any of you guys watching, if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments. Feel free to press like, love, press all those reactions, because the more people we have liking and commenting, the higher the video ends up in the feed, and more people get to watch. But we have about 20 more minutes. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions, again on Instagram, guys, if you have any questions as well, type them out. I'll make a note to get to them, and we'll address them. But cool. Where were we? I always have to pull in and out. Back to Abel says back to nutrition. Okay, so we'll wait for the question from Abel. And yeah, guys, if you've been watching, let me know. What do you think? Are we making sense? Have you learned anything, perhaps, about not just my father and me, but healthcare, nutrition, or any of that? And if you have any questions, guys, feel free to type them. So Abel asks, what would you say to someone who may not believe that they have the budget to eat the right foods?
Well,
I'm sure you've countless patients.
I get that all the time, and a lot of patients I take care of are not wealthy. They don't have a lot of means, but I ask them, well, one, if they're smoking cigarettes, I tell them that, well, the cigarettes that you're spending money on cost more than the food that I'm suggesting. And the other thing is that if we can get you off the 10 different medicines you're taking because we're treating your symptoms, if you can eat better, and you can probably get rid of a blood pressure medicine, you can probably get rid of some of the diabetic medications that you're taking, and those are much more expensive than the food we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, people are confused. They think they have to eat organic. They think they have to eat all these exotic foods, and it's really not. It can be really simple. It can be very simple, and it's not that hard.
Yeah, I think the tip I always heard was, when you go to the grocery store, just stick to the outsides.
Correct.
You get your vegetables, you get your meat.
You stay away from all the processed foods that are in the aisles.
Yeah, all those chemicals.
And the other thing I tell people is that they're afraid that they can't cook, and I go, you don't have to cook a lot. Now, you and I are fortunate because we live with one of the best cooks in the world.
Very spoiled, yeah. Our mother, grew up in an Italian household, and my mom she loves cooking.
She loves to cook, and again, we have a hard time going out to Italian.
We do
because it's never as good as what she makes.
No, we're always comparing in our home. Yeah, it's tough.
But you don't have to. If you learn a few simple things, it's not hard. And if you cook for yourself and keep it simple,
it's cheap. It ends up being cheaper.
Expensive. I mean, look what you guys are doing. You're getting your vegetables from a place where it's not expensive.
Imperfect Produce would highly recommend. It ends up being cheaper than getting your vegetables at the store. Right. And it's all vegetables that would have been thrown out too. So you're also helping reduce food waste, which is great. Yeah, we just subscribe to this thing called the Butcher Box, which is it's like organic grass-fed meat from a farm, and they ship it to you. It's frozen, and again, it's like $100 or something for a month, and which isn't bad. It's one of those things that Sasha, my girlfriend, has kind of drilled into my head is like, it's worth it to spend a little bit more money on like better quality food, because it's what's going into your body. It's what your cells are replicating based off of what you're eating. Right. And like you said, it's like, if you're not spending money on alcohol and, obviously drugs or cigarettes, which are these things, I think these addictions and these things that are kind of pushed by our society or advertised
completely.
And it's like, I think it takes a strong will and fortitude to kind of push that advertising and all that stuff out, and to kind of take back your body and to take back your nutrition. And I think, whoever you are, even if you're watching, if you're not doing that, I think it's a good place to start on your healthcare journey.
Yeah, and your sister and I, Susie, when we wrote our book, we teach, and I try to teach patients as they're trying to change their diet, is you do it in small steps. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to eat a pizza, that's okay.
Go for it in moderation.
Put some vegetables on.
Yeah.
And then, as you might make changes, you're going to see yourself feel better.
Yeah.
Again, if you're overweight, you're going to start losing weight because you're eating better and you're watching what goes in your body. And again, as people feel better and they see changes in their body for the better, they want to do more.
It's so true. It's so funny because on Sunday I got tea with one of my old roommates, Dan Pearson, and when we lived together, he was drinking a lot. He was ordering a lot of food, and I ran into him at a party last Saturday. I almost didn't recognize him. He'd lost so much weight. He looked taller. His skin was clearer. I said, Dan, you look great. What have you been doing? He said, I quit drinking and I quit social media. And I said, well, that's funny. I think everyone should do that for at least a month and see how they feel. He does Pilates now every week. He goes to the gym, and but it's I can just see it in his eyes now. He's like, I feel so good. I'm never going back. And it's like, I think it's one of those things that's, you can read all these books, you can watch all these, trainers and coaches, all these, personalities tell you about how to live your life, but until you're experiencing what it feels like to be in good health and to have that energy, it's hard to, you have to live it.
You have to live it.
You really have to live it.
It's not something you can read about, and it's not something you can have other people tell you. I mean, you can have your best friend do all these good things, and they're fine. But if you're not feeling better and you're not doing it, you have to experience it for yourself, and you have to feel better.
Yeah, and I think I can speak on that. I spent a lot of the last year, with depression, and then even being diagnosed as bipolar, seeing a doctor, entering this research study. And I'm sure for you guys, you're like, why can't Michael just be better? And I know myself, and I know I'm very stubborn. And even I was very stubborn about trying medication, and that was something that scared me. I know even last January, you sent me some antidepressants that I ended up not taking. I think they were just some standard SSRIs, but I was skeptical and said, I want to keep trying to push through. And then over the summer, I ended up going on Wellbutrin, which ended up making me feel worse. It made me feel more anxious. It was really awful. And then it wasn't until I went into this research study at the Uptown Research Center, and that's when I actually got to meet with the lead researcher. I'm not sure if he's a physician, but we got along really well. I could tell he cared about me. And I went on the study, and actually I was on the placebo the whole time, and they said, if they're on you the placebo, don't act better. So that was kind of tough. But then at the end I got to go out on the actual drug, it's still an experimental drug. It's called lumateperone. It's being developed by Intracellular Therapies. But right away, I felt the impact. But at the same time, I said, as soon as I got out of the study, and I was like, okay, now I'm just going to focus on getting better. I also dove into the breath work and the meditation and doing that every day, because I'm like, I know a pill can help, but I don't want to just rely on a pill. I know it's going to boost what I'm doing, but I want to give myself every fighting chance to get better.
Right.
And so, if anyone's watching too, if you're struggling with mental health, definitely, seek out medication, seek out therapy. I've had a therapist for the last 2 years, and I know, do what you can to find affordable resources for you, because I think there needs to be more. But they are out there, and if you're hurting in any way, mentally, emotionally, it's like oftentimes you just need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And that can make all the difference. But also, medication can help. Mindfulness and meditation have saved my life, and I still practice it every day because it's a practice. I mean, even your medicine, it's a practice.
It is. It's a habit. It's something that you do and you incorporate into your everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, you're never done until you're dead. You're never really done.
You can still learn. I'm still.
You're
learning.
still learning. You've been a physician for 30 years. You're here training.
Chicago, learning something new.
Yeah.
So you just as long as you challenge yourself in any way.
Yeah. To
learn new things about life, about what to do, and it should be a continuous process.
Yeah. Benson, like a comment on Instagram, said, "Great message, Michael. Mental health is such a serious issue that needs to be addressed more often in our culture." And I agree. I definitely want to make that a point of the Michael Boothby Show. I know I'm growing a dating coaching company right now, and I'm writing a book, and as an author and a speaker, I'm someone who, the more attention that I get, the more fame or money, the more I want to use my platform to speak about mental health. Because we need more people speaking about it. It's not weird. It's not bad. We all go through it. And the thing is that most of us aren't willing to admit is that a lot of our mental health struggles are completely caused by our culture and our cultural conditioning and in our society. It's like we have this social responsibility, I feel like, to better our society and to create a society where we care about each other and we pick each other up. We're not competing. We're picking each other up, and we're asking each other. When we say, "Hey, how are you doing?" we mean it. It's not just this glaze over like it often is. And that's something that I'm very passionate about.
And mental health issues are very common.
Yeah.
That's and the problem is that as a society, we don't appreciate how to help people.
We kind of shut down too. As soon as I know I've talked, as soon as they say bipolar, it's like, ooh, crazy. When we use that word crazy, and it's like, why? Where did that come from? And because we've never in the West had a great history with how we've dealt with mental health. We used to just lock people up.
We had institutions,
and we'd shock people, and it's like, gosh. And I mean, now we're kind of maybe at a point where like that shit was bad. Maybe we should actually treat people like people.
Well, we're finally getting to the point where we can understand what causes some of these issues.
Right. Trauma,
some of it's trauma, some of it's how we were raised, some of it is
genetic,
some of it's chemical.
Yeah.
But there are ways now that can be dealt with, and it's
Evan Schauder just joined. How's it going, Evan? It's been so long. Yeah. We've just been talking about healthcare, Florida. We've talked about so much, but right now we were just talking about mental health and just kind of ways, better ways that we can talk about it. Both in practice, but also just in our lives. And I really feel like that's the best thing we can do is just calling our friends, calling your family, and genuinely caring about them and asking them how they're doing. And if they're not doing well, not shutting down and leaning in and saying, well, what's going on? And just being there for them. Because sometimes a lot of people, I know when I was depressed, it's like I didn't want people to tell me what was wrong with me or what I could do. I just wanted someone to listen to me.
Yeah.
And often we don't feel listened to a lot in our life. I mean, we put on these masks, we play these roles. We go to work, we're the employee, we go home and maybe you're the spouse or the father or whatever it is. And it's like, and I think often in that we lose who we are as individuals, and we all have these needs, and sometimes maybe they're not getting met, and we need to express that, because sometimes that's all it takes is expressing that, and someone said, I didn't know you felt that way. I would love to do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'd love to help in any way I can. Cool. So we only have a few more minutes now, so maybe we've talked about past, we talked about healthcare, but what's next for you, Dan? Do you have any, I think you got a few years left. You'll probably be working for a while, but I imagine you must still have some childhood dreams and a bucket list. What's next for you?
Your mom and I are looking forward to me retiring in a few years.
Yeah.
It probably won't be a complete retirement, but we'll find other ways to enjoy life, and we like to travel, and so that there's a lot of travel in our future.
I see that. I definitely want to come. Travel. I'm still waiting for you to become that classy bartender. or my dad. You always used to talk about you wanted to be the guitarist at Longboat Key, the guy playing Jimmy Buffett on the beach.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That'd be fun. I would like that in my old age, just to be that old beach bum, or that guy in that band, and you don't need the money anymore. You're just doing it for fun with your friends. Yeah. Cool. Well, we've almost gone for an hour. I think we've covered a lot. My dad's going to be up here in Chicago doing some training here at the University of Chicago over the next few days. Guys, if you've been watching, thank you so much. Do you guys have any questions? We have a few more minutes, so I'll leave it open. If you have any questions about me, about the work I'm doing, the Michael Boothby Show, or my father, how often am I going to have a experienced physician on my show? I don't know, probably not as often as I'd like, but if you have any questions, guys, now is the time. Again, if you've been watching on Instagram over here, I want to thank you for tuning in. Again, if you have any questions, I'm just going to leave it open now for a few minutes. Feel free to ask away in the comments, and I'll get to them. And we'll just be sitting here, hanging around, waiting for your questions. Drinking water out of coffee mugs. We're here at the Hyatt Regency.
The Hyatt Place.
The Hyatt Place, by the University of Chicago on the south side of Chicago. I think we're in Hyde Park.
We're near Hyde Park.
We're in Obama's neighborhood. we're gonna go get some ice cream with him later. No, we're not.
I don't think he.
I don't think so. I think he's too busy.
I think he's a little busy.
Maybe I'll get him on the show eventually.
There you go.
Hey, Obama, how's it going? So again, it says there's 3 people watching, guys. If you have any questions, now is the time. Speak up or forever hold your peace. That's not how that one goes.
No.
Something like that. Cool. We have on the Instagram we have 20 seconds left because on Instagram you can only go for an hour and it shuts off. My dad's very popular. He just got some notifications on his phone. Cool. Well, it says 2 people are watching. I guess they don't
have any questions.
They don't have any questions.
Wait,
Abel says, when am I going to be able to meet your pops?
Well,
maybe if you guys come out for my birthday.
We could.
So Abel, yeah. So the last weekend of the leadership program, I think it's the 24th through the 26th. And then my birthday, my 28th birthday is on the 27th. So maybe you'll meet him then out in Durango in the mountains. And I know I'd love for them to meet everyone in Living Vision 10. I'm sure we can, on that day, we can do a big birthday celebration / graduation party. I know I would love that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Mom says, love you too.
Oh, we love you too.
We love you too, Mom. Thanks for tuning in. You're our biggest fan and supporter. We thank you for all of the spaghetti that you've cooked over the last
40 years.
40 years.
Plus.
I'm sure I'll have my mother on the show some point soon to talk about her life. My mother's very interesting. Loves to cook, loves to talk, loves people, very interested in people. She's been the financial controller for 3 bars in downtown Orlando for the last 20 years. So she's seen this whole era. They've been bought and sold and bought again, and she's a very loving, very, very fascinating person. She'll be on the show. Abel says, thank you for sharing your expertise. Absolute pleasure. Yeah, guys, so I think that's all we have. We're going to go across the street to Kilwins and get some ice cream because we love ice cream. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Michael Boothby Show. I'm going to be taking the rest of the week off I'll be driving to Colorado. I'll be driving 22 hours to Colorado. But I'll be back for episode 3 next Monday. And I'm pretty sure I have guests every night next week. I'll come back. I'll have some posters made, but episode 3 is going to be with one of my good friends from US. She now lives in New York City. Her name is Brittany Brave. She's a comedian. She's one of the shortest people I've ever met, but one of the biggest personalities, and she's so amazing. So you're not going to want to miss that. That'll be next Monday night at 7 p.m. But I've been Michael Boothby. This has been my father, Dr. Rusty Boothby. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful Monday night.